Lucy Bennett kicked the red dirt with her boot and watched the dust cloud drift across the yard. 7 years old and already bored of New Haven Colony. Same hab domes, same recycled air, same view of purple mountains that never got any closer no matter how long she stared. Her parents were inside arguing about crop yields again. Something about the soil chemistry being wrong and the wheat dying in Section 4. Lucy didn't understand most of it. She just knew that when her parents used their worried voices, dinner would be quiet and tense. She wandered past the greenhouse where Mr. Garcia was cursing at a broken irrigation pump, past the solar panels that hummed in the afternoon heat, past the fence that marked where the colony ended and the wild red plains began. That's where she found it. The stone sat half buried in the soil, smooth and dark like polished wood. But it wasn't wood. It was warm when she picked it up, warm like something alive. Patterns swirled beneath the surface, almost like veins or roots. Lucy held it up to the light and thought she saw something moving deep inside. "Your seed," she whispered to it. "A very special seed." She looked around to make sure no one was watching, then tucked the stone seed under her arm and hurried back toward the habdomes. Behind the family quarters, there was a small patch of dirt her mother had said she could use for whatever she wanted. Lucy had planted carrots there once, but they died. Everything died on New Haven eventually. But this seed would be different. She could feel it. Lucy dug a hole with her hands, placed the stone seed carefully at the bottom, and covered it with the red soil. She patted it down gently, the way her father patted her head when she was sad. Then she ran inside to get water. Her mother looked up from her data tablet. "What are you doing, sweetheart?" "Planting something special," Lucy said, filling a cup from the purifier. "That's nice, baby. Just don't waste too much water, okay? We're on rationing again." Lucy nodded and went back outside. She poured the water slowly over the spot where she'd buried the stone seed, whispering to it as she did. "Grow big and strong. I'll take good care of you." The water soaked into the thirsty red dirt and disappeared. That night, Lucy lay in bed and thought about what might grow from such an unusual seed. Maybe a tree with silver leaves. Maybe a flower that glowed in the dark. Maybe something no one had ever seen before. She fell asleep smiling. The next morning, Lucy woke before her parents and rushed outside to check on her seed. The dirt looked the same. She added a little more water, then had to go to morning lessons with the other colony children. Mrs. Park taught them about Earth that day, about blue oceans and green forests and animals that didn't need pressure suits to survive. Lucy had never seen Earth. She'd been born on the transport ship coming to New Haven. But her mother said Earth was humanity's garden, and that's why they had to learn to make gardens everywhere they went. "We carry Earth in our hearts," Mrs. Park said, "and in our actions. Every seed we plant, every crop we grow, we're making new homes for humanity among the stars." Lucy thought about her secret seed and felt proud. She was making a garden too. At lunch, she sat with her friend Ben, who was building a model rocket out of spare parts. "What do you think grows fastest?" she asked him. Ben shrugged. "Radishes, I guess. We grew some in hydroponics last month. Took 3 weeks. What about something special? Something that takes a long time, but grows into something amazing." "Like what?" "I don't know. Something magical." Ben left. "There's no magic, Lucy. Just science and hard work." But Lucy knew better. The stone seed felt like magic. Every day after lessons, Lucy would visit her garden spot. She'd water the seed, talk to it, tell about her day. She told it about Ben's rocket and Mrs. Park's lessons. She told it about her parents' worried voices and the crops that kept dying. She told it secrets she didn't tell anyone else. After 2 weeks, the other children noticed. "What are you doing, Lucy?" asked Sarah, a girl 2 years older who always seemed annoyed by everything. "Gardening. There's nothing there. It's just dirt. There's a seed. It's growing." Sarah knelt down and poked at the soil. "I don't see anything." "It takes time," Lucy said firmly. Sarah rolled her eyes. "You're weird." She walked away, and Lucy heard her telling the other kids about Lucy's imaginary plant. But Lucy didn't care what Sarah thought. She could feel that something was happening, even if she couldn't see it yet. The soil felt warmer than it should. Sometimes at night, she thought she saw a faint glow from her window. A month passed. Lucy decorated the area around her seed with painted rocks. She drew flowers and suns and stars on them with markers she traded her dessert rations for. She arranged them in a circle, making a special place. Her father smiled when he saw it. "That's beautiful, Lucy." "It's a garden," she said proudly. "I can see that. What are you growing?" "Something special. You'll see." He ruffled her hair. "I'm sure it will be wonderful." Her mother was less patient. "Lucy, honey, I know you're trying, but that soil isn't good for growing. The chemical balance is all wrong. Maybe you should try planting something in the hydroponics bay instead." "No," Lucy said. "It has to be here." Her mother sighed, but didn't push. Everyone on New Haven had learned that sometimes you had to let people have their small hopes, even if they were impossible. 3 months after Lucy planted her stone seed, the first crack appeared. She was watering it one evening when she noticed a thin, dark line across the surface where the soil had been disturbed. She brushed away the dirt carefully and gasped. The stone seed had risen slightly, pushing up through the soil, and running across its surface was a hairline fracture, so thin she could barely see it. But inside that crack, something glowed. Something warm and golden, like firelight. Lucy's heart pounded. She covered the seed back up quickly and looked around, but no one was watching. The colony was busy with dinner preparations. She could smell synthesized protein cooking in the communal kitchen. "Soon," she whispered to her seed. "Soon you'll be ready." She didn't know what would emerge. She didn't know that her simple act of kindness would change everything, not just for New Haven, but for the entire galaxy. She was just a 7-year-old girl who had found something that looked lonely and decided to give it love. Sometimes that's all it takes to wake ancient things from their long sleep. 6 months had passed since Lucy planted her stone seed, and the crack had grown wider. Now it was impossible to hide. The seed pushed up through the soil like a small boulder, glowing softly at night. Lucy tried to cover it with rocks and dirt, but each morning it had shifted again, growing warmer. The other children had stopped teasing her. Now they just stared, keeping their distance as if the glowing stone might bite them. Even Ben, who believed only in science, couldn't explain it. "Maybe it's some kind of mineral," he suggested, though his voice was uncertain. "Like phosphorus or something." Lucy knew better. She could feel something moving inside. Sometimes when she pressed her hand against the warm surface, she felt a pulse, slow and steady like a heartbeat. Her parents finally noticed when the colony's science officer, Dr. Williams, came knocking on their door one evening. He was sweating despite the cool, recycled air of the Hab Dome, his tablet clutched in both hands. "Mr. and Mrs. Bennett, we need to talk about your daughter's project." Lucy's father looked confused. "You mean her garden?" "That's not a garden. That's an energy signature powerful enough to light up every sensor we have. I thought it was a malfunction until I traced it to your backyard." Lucy's mother went pale. "Is it dangerous? Is it radiation?" "I don't know what it is, but it's growing stronger. We need to remove it before." Thunder cracked across the sky, cutting him off. All three adults rushed to the window. Lucy stayed where she was, a strange calm settling over her. She knew what was happening. The storm rolled in fast, clouds boiling up from the horizon like dark smoke. Lightning danced between them, purple and white, illuminating the red plains in violent flashes. The wind picked up, howling against the Hab domes, and rain began to fall. Real rain, not the usual thin drizzle that barely wet the ground. "Lucy, get away from the window," her mother said, but Lucy was already moving toward the back door. "I have to check on it." "Lucy, no," but she was already outside, running through the rain toward her garden. The painted rocks had scattered in the wind. The glowing stone seed sat fully exposed now, pulsing with light that matched the lightning above. Cracks spiderwebbed across its entire surface, and through those cracks, golden light poured out. Lucy fell to her knees beside it, rain soaking through her clothes. "It's okay," she whispered. "I'm here." The stone seed trembled. The cracks widened, and then, with a sound like breaking glass, it split apart. What emerged was small, no larger than a cat. It had scales the color of melted copper, wings folded tight against its body, and eyes that glowed like embers. It opened its mouth and made a sound between a chirp and a growl, shaking rain from its head. Lucy stared. The creature stared back. Then it crawled forward on shaky legs and pressed its warm head against her chest, making a sound like a purr. Lucy's arms came up automatically, cradling it close. She felt its heartbeat against hers, fast and fluttering. She felt its fear and wonder. She felt everything. "Hi," she whispered. "I'm Lucy." The creature, the dragon, made another chirping sound. It understood. She knew it did. Behind her, she heard shouting. Her parents were coming, along with Dr. Williams and others from the colony. Flashlights cut through the rain. Someone screamed. Someone else was yelling into a radio about security. Lucy held the dragon tighter. "I'll keep you safe," she promised. The dragon's eyes brightened, and warmth spread through Lucy's chest. Not painful, but like drinking hot soup on a cold day. The warmth settled somewhere deep inside, and she knew without being told that something had changed. Something permanent. They were connected now. Bonded. Her father reached her first, skidding to a stop in the mud. He stared at the dragon in Lucy's arms, his face pale. Lucy put it down. Slowly. "No. He's scared. It's dangerous. We don't know what it is. He's a baby, and his name is Ash." She didn't know where the name came from. It just felt right, like the dragon had told her himself. Dr. Williams arrived next, along with Director Hamilton, who ran the entire colony. Hamilton was a big man with a scarred face and a military background. He looked at the dragon like it was a grenade with the pin pulled. "Someone get that thing away from the child." He ordered. .2 security officers moved forward. Ash lifted his head and hissed, a small sound but sharp with warning. Heat radiated from his scales. The officers stopped. "Stand down," Hamilton said. "We'll use tranquilizers." "No," Lucy's mother said suddenly, stepping in front of Lucy. "You're not shooting anything near my daughter. That thing could be dangerous." "So could you, but I don't see anyone pointing guns at you." The rain was slowing now, the storm passing as quickly as it had come. Lucy stood up, still holding Ash. The dragon wrapped his tail around her wrist, clinging to her. She could feel his trust, absolute and complete. He had waited so long in the darkness, alone and sleeping. And when he woke, she was the first thing he knew, the first voice he heard, the first kindness he felt. Of course he loved her. How could he not? "I watered him for 6 months," Lucy said, her voice small but steady. "I talked to him. I took care of him. He's mine." "Lucy, honey, you don't understand," Dr. Williams said, trying to sound gentle. "This is some kind of alien creature. We need to study it, understand what it is before." "He's a dragon," Lucy interrupted. "And he needs me." Hamilton's radio crackled to life. A voice spoke urgently, too low for Lucy to hear. Hamilton listened, his expression darkening. He looked up at the sky. "We have incoming ships," he said quietly. "Multiple contacts breaking orbit." "Who?" Lucy's father demanded. "I don't know, but they're headed right for us." Lucy felt Ash tense in her arms. She felt his fear spike, ancient instincts waking. He knew those ships, or rather, he knew what they meant. Hunters, enemies, things that wanted to hurt him. She held him closer. "I won't let them." The dragon chirped softly and pressed against her heart. In that moment, Lucy Bennett stopped being just a 7-year-old girl who liked a garden. She became something more. A guardian, a protector. She became dragonkin. Above New Haven, 3 ships descended through the clouds, their hulls marked with symbols humanity had never seen before. In an orbit beyond them, dozens more waited, watching, deciding whether the last dragon in the galaxy deserved to live. Lucy looked up at those ships and felt no fear, only determination. She'd planted Ash like a seed and helped him grow. She'd given him water and words and love. And now, like any gardener, she would protect what she'd grown from anything that tried to uproot it. Director Hamilton was already barking orders, organizing defenses. Dr. Williams was shouting about protocols. The colonists were panicking, rushing back to their homes. But Lucy just stood in her muddy garden, holding a dragon, while ash from the burned fragments of the egg drifted around her feet like snow. She had named him well. The 3 ships settled into positions around New Haven like predators circling prey. Lucy watched from the underground hydroponics bay where her parents had hidden her. Ash curled in her lap, already twice the size he'd been 2 days ago. He was growing fast, fed by her care and the bond between them. She could feel his hunger, his restlessness. But more than that, she could feel his fear of the ships above. Memories that weren't hers flickered through their connection. Fire and screaming. Hunts across dead worlds. Dragons falling from the sky like broken stars. They killed his family, Lucy whispered to her mother. A long time ago, they killed all of them. Her mother stroked Lucy's hair, helpless and afraid. How do you know that, baby? He showed me. Director Hamilton had set up a command post in a main cafeteria, every screen showing different views of the ships. The largest belonged to a species called the Scar, reptilian beings who claimed ancient rights to hunt dragons. The second ship held the Quinn, insect-like scholars who had studied dragon extinction for centuries. The third ship remained silent, just watching with sensors that made the colony's equipment look like children's toys. Hamilton had been a soldier once, but he'd never faced anything like this. His face was gray as he listened to the Scar commander's demands through the translator. Surrender the dragon, or we destroy your colony. You have 12 hours. We're under Concordance protection, Hamilton replied, though his voice shook. You can't just attack human settlements. The Scar commander laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. The Concordance is 3 weeks away. We're here now, and Dragon Law supersedes all agreements. They are ours to hunt. They always have been. The transmission cut off. Hamilton slumped in his chair and looked at the assembled colonists. Most were farmers and engineers, not fighters. A few veterans like himself, but not enough. Not nearly enough. Options? He asked quietly. We could try to smuggle the girl off-world, someone suggested. Hide her until help arrives. They're scanning for dragon DNA signatures. They'd find her before she left the atmosphere. Then we give them the dragon. It's not worth dying for. Lucy's father stood up so fast his chair fell over. That's my daughter you're talking about. They're bonded. You can't separate them. Better separated than dead. The argument grew louder. Lucy stopped listening. She pressed her face against Ash's warm scales and felt his heart beating against her cheek. He was scared too, but he wasn't scared for himself. He was scared for her, scared that she'd get hurt protecting him. I won't let them take you, she whispered. Ash made a low rumbling sound and licked her hand with a tongue that felt like warm sandpaper. On the third day of the siege, the Scar sent a landing party. 12 soldiers in heavy armor, armed with weapons that hummed with dangerous energy. They marched through the main gates like they owned the place, demanding to see the dragon. Hamilton met them in the courtyard, backed by 20 colonists carrying hunting rifles and improvised weapons. It would have been laughable if it wasn't so desperate. You need to leave, Hamilton said. Now. The Scar commander removed his helmet, revealing a face like a nightmare made of scales and teeth. Where is the dragon? Not here. We can smell it. Dragon's scent is unmistakable. Lucy watched from a ventilation grate. Ash pressed against her side. She felt him tense, felt his instincts screaming at him to fight or flee. But he stayed still because she needed him to stay still. The bond worked both ways. He trusted her as much as she trusted him. The Scar commander raised his weapon. Last chance, human. Show us the dragon, or we start executing your people. That's when Lucy made her choice. She couldn't let innocent people die. Not for her. Not for Ash. She pushed open the grate and climbed out, Ash following close behind. I'm here, she called out. Leave them alone. Every head turned. Lucy walked forward, trying not to shake. Ash kept pace with her, his head level with her shoulder now. He was beautiful in the sunlight, scales shimmering like liquid metal. The Scar commander smiled, showing too many teeth. There you are, little one. Come quietly and no one gets hurt. I'm not going anywhere with you. You don't have a choice. Yes, I do. Ash growled, a sound that started deep in his chest and rolled out like thunder. Heat radiated from his body. The Scar soldiers raised their weapons, but their commander held up a hand. Don't be stupid, child. That dragon is barely hatched. It can't protect you from us. Maybe not, Lucy said, but he doesn't have to. She felt Ash's confusion through the bond. then his understanding. She wasn't asking him to fight. She was asking him to trust her one more time. Lucy stepped forward, putting herself between Ash and the Scar weapons. If you want him, you have to go through me. The commander laughed. Easily done. Then do it. Shoot a human child in front of all these witnesses. See what the Concordance does to you then. The laughter died. The commander's expression shifted from amusement to anger. You think they care about one child? I think they care about the law. And I think shooting unarmed kids breaks about 50 different treaties. Hamilton stepped forward, understanding Lucy's play. She's right. You harm her, and every human world in the Concordance will demand your heads. Is one dragon worth starting a war? The Scar soldiers shifted uncomfortably. Their commander's tail lashed in frustration. Before anyone could speak again, the sky split open with light. A fourth ship emerged from the clouds, ancient and massive. It was shaped like a comet, all curves and flowing lines, its hull marked with symbols that predated any living language. The ship came to rest above the colony, and a voice spoke. Not through radios or translators, but directly into everyone's minds. The Scar dropped their weapons. The Quinn ship powered down its weapons. Even the silent watchers in the third ship seemed to bow. Enough, the voice said, old and deep as mountains. The child is under my protection now. Lucy felt Ash's reaction. Joy and relief and recognition. He knew that voice. He knew that presence. Grandfather. Ash chirped, the first word sound Lucy had heard him make. That a shape descended from the ancient ship, massive and terrible and beautiful. A dragon, scarred and ancient, with scales like storm clouds and eyes like dying stars. He was enormous, big enough to swallow the Scar ship whole. He landed with a crash that shook the ground, folding wings that could have covered the entire colony. He looked at the Scar commander with eyes that had seen civilizations rise and fall. You will leave this place, Grandfather said. You will leave this child and her bonded in peace. Or I will remind you why your ancestors feared us. The Scar commander tried to speak, to argue, to claim ancient rights. But the words died in his throat. He'd seen recordings, heard stories. But stories couldn't capture what it meant to stand before an elder dragon, one of the last true guardians. This isn't over, the commander managed, his voice small. Yes, Grandfather said softly. It is. The Scar retreated to their ship. The Quinn followed. Even the silent watchers withdrew to a respectful distance. In minutes, the siege was broken, as simple as that. Grandfather folded himself down to look at Lucy and Ash. Up close, his scars were terrible. Burns and cuts and marks from weapons that no longer existed. He'd fought in wars humans couldn't imagine. He'd lost everything and everyone he loved. But when he looked at Lucy, his ancient eyes were kind. Hello, little gardener, he said. I felt his awakening from across the galaxy. I came as fast as I could. Lucy swallowed hard. Thank you. Do not thank me yet. The Scar spoke truth about one thing. This is far from over. Grandfather stayed for 3 days, teaching Lucy what it meant to be dragonkin. He was patient in a way that only the very old can be, explaining things she didn't understand and showing her memories through the same connection she shared with Ash. The truth about dragons wasn't what anyone expected. They hadn't been weapons. They'd been guardians, bonding with species across the galaxy to protect worlds from dangers both inside and out. But war had come, as it always does, and dragons were powerful. Too powerful. Some species had tried to control them, to force bonds, to turn guardians into soldiers that IT hadn't worked. Forced bonds created monsters that destroyed everything they touched. So the dragons had been hunted instead, blamed for the very wars others had started. Grandfather showed Lucy the final battle. Thousands of dragons falling from the sky while their bonded screamed below. He showed her eggs being crushed, children being killed, hope dying. I searched for survivors for 300 years, Grandfather told her, his voice like distant thunder. I found scattered eggs, hidden and dormant. Ash was one of 17 I've recovered. The others are still sleeping, waiting for someone worthy to wake them. Lucy sat with Ash in her lap, now the size of a large dog and still growing. What makes someone worthy? That is the question, isn't it? Grandfather tilted his massive head. Why did you water him? Why did you care for a stone that any sensible person would have ignored? Lucy thought about it. He looked lonely. Lonely? He was dormant, sleeping. He had no feelings, no consciousness. I know, but he still looked lonely. Grandfather made a sound like wind through caves. It might have been laughter. That is why you're worthy. You saw need where others saw nothing. You gave care without expectation of reward. That is what dragons choose. That is what we've always chosen. He showed her more memories then. Bonded pairs throughout history. A warrior and their dragon facing an army. A scientist and their dragon exploring impossible places. A child and their dragon bringing hope to a dying world. The bonds lasted lifetimes, stretched across decades. When one died, the other followed soon after, unable to bear the separation. It's a terrible gift, Grandfather said softly. To love something that completely, to be loved in return. Lucy pressed her face against Ash's scales. She could feel his contentment, his absolute certainty that they belonged together. The bond had changed her too. She could feel things she couldn't before. Heat and cold in new ways. Danger like a pressure in her chest. And Ash's emotions, always there, a second heartbeat alongside her own. I don't think it's terrible, she said. I think it's wonderful. You're young. You haven't lost yet, have you? Grandfather was silent for a long moment. Then he showed her. His bonded, a being whose species Lucy didn't recognize. They'd explored the edges of the galaxy together, mapped strange stars, discovered impossible things. They'd been together for 600 years. And then pirates had come, and Grandfather had been away. And when he returned, there was only ashes. Lucy felt tears on her face. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Be careful. Be strong. Because the galaxy isn't finished with dragons, and it certainly isn't finished with you. The Scar hadn't left. They'd withdrawn to the edge of the system, waiting and watching. More ships arrived daily. Some were curious. Some were hostile. Some were desperate. News had spread fast that a dragon egg had hatched, the human child had bonded with it, that Grandfather himself had appeared to protect them. The galaxy wanted to know what it meant. The Quinn sent a delegation, scientists who studied Lucy and Ash from a respectful distance. They wanted to understand the bond, to document it, to add it to their vast libraries of knowledge. They were polite but persistent, asking endless questions until Grandfather told them firmly to leave the child alone. The Lumens, the silent watchers, finally spoke. They were beings of pure energy, ancient and unknowable. They'd observed dragon kind for millennia without interfering. Now they offered a warning. More eggs would be found. Other species would try to claim them. Wars would start over the right to bond with dragons. The child has proven that humans are capable, the Lumen ambassador said, their voice like music. But one success does not guarantee another. What if the wrong human finds an egg? What if they damage it trying to force it open? Then it dies, Grandfather said simply. As it should. Dragons cannot be forced. This is known, is it? The Scar are already searching for eggs. They plan to break them open, to create dragons bonded to pain and fear. Lucy felt sick. She looked at Ash, imagining him twisted and wrong, hatching into cruelty instead of care. We have to stop them. How? Her father asked. He'd been listening from the doorway, trying to understand what his daughter had become. We're just colonists. We can't fight the Scar fleet. No, Grandfather agreed. But we can protect the eggs. If they're hidden well enough, with guardians who understand what's at stake, they'll choose their own time to wake. Choose their own bonds. You mean create sanctuaries, Director Hamilton said, joining the conversation. Places where eggs can be safe. Yes, and New Haven could be the first. The Colony Council argued for hours. Some wanted nothing to do with dragons, afraid of what it would bring down on them. Others saw opportunity, a chance to be part of something bigger than failed crops and broken equipment. In the end, they voted to accept. New Haven would become a refuge for dragon eggs. But we'll need defenses, Hamilton said grimly. The Scar won't let this stand. Leave that to me, Grandfather rumbled. The attack came 2 days later. The Scar had gathered allies, species who remembered dragon wars, and wanted to prevent them from starting again. 12 ships broke orbit together, weapons charged, demanding the eggs be surrendered or destroyed. Hamilton activated every defense the colony had. It wasn't much. A few plasma cannons, some missiles, shield designed to stop meteors, not warships. The Scar fired first. Their opening salvo would have vaporized the colony if Grandfather hadn't been there. The ancient dragon rose into the sky with Ash beside him, smaller but no less fierce. Together they created a shield of fire and force, turning plasma bolts aside, melting missiles before they struck. Lucy stood on the colony walls, feeling every moment of the battle through her bond with Ash. She felt his fear and courage mixing together, felt his determination to protect her, to protect everyone. And she felt something else. Power, raw and waiting, coiled inside both of them like a spring. "You can help him," Grandfather said, landing beside her. "Through the bond. Give him your strength." "How?" "Trust. That's all bonds are. Trust made manifest." Lucy closed her eyes and reached for Ash through their connection. She felt him high above, dodging energy beams, breathing fire at attacking ships. She poured everything she had into the bond. Her love, her trust, her absolute certainty that he would keep them safe. Ash blazed brighter. His fire burned hotter. He moved faster, hit harder. Together with Grandfather, they drove the Scar back, forced them to retreat. But not before one ship broke through, heading straight for the colony. Lucy saw it coming. Ash saw it coming. They acted as one. The Dragon Dove, building speed, building heat. Lucy felt her consciousness merge with his, felt wings that weren't hers catching the air. Together they struck the Scar ship, tearing through shields and hull, bringing it crashing down in the red plains beyond the colony. When Lucy opened her eyes, she was still on the wall. But Ash was there beside her, smoking and triumphant, and she could taste victory in both their mouths. The remaining Scar ships fled. The message was clear. Touch this place and face dragons. Grandfather nuzzled both of them gently. "Well done, little ones." 3 months after the battle, Lucy sat alone in her garden and cried. Not because she was hurt, not because she was scared, but because she couldn't remember the last time she'd just been a kid. Ash was the size of a shuttle now, sleeping in a specially built shelter at the edge of the colony. Every night Lucy could feel his dreams through their bond, images of flying and hunting and protecting. But she also felt his worry for her, his confusion about why she seemed so sad lately. She couldn't explain it to him. How could she explain that being dragonkin was wonderful and terrible at the same time? Scientists wanted to study her constantly. Politicians wanted to use her as a symbol. Other colonists either treated her like a hero or avoided her entirely, afraid of what she represented. Even the other children didn't play with her anymore. They were too nervous around Ash, too aware that Lucy was different now. She was 8 years old, and she couldn't just be 8 years old anymore. "I wish I'd never found that egg," she whispered to the empty air. She didn't mean it, but she said it anyway, because sometimes you need to say the wrong thing to figure out what's right. Through the bond, she felt Ash wake suddenly, felt his heart break like glass. He'd heard her, not the words, but the feeling behind them. Regret, resentment, wishing things were different. Lucy gasped and reached for him through the bond. "I didn't mean it. Ash, I didn't mean it." But the damage was done. Ash withdrew into himself, curling up tight in his shelter. He didn't respond to her calls. Didn't come when she ran to him. He just lay there with his eyes closed, pretending to sleep while his pain bled through the bond like poison. The next day, Ash wouldn't eat. The day after that, he barely moved. Lucy stayed with him constantly, begging him to forgive her, to understand. But he'd heard her wish, heard her regret their bond. And for a dragon, for whom love and loyalty were absolute, that was worse than any wound. Grandfather found Lucy on the 3rd day, hollow-eyed and desperate. She'd barely slept, refusing to leave Ash's side. "He won't eat," she told the ancient dragon. "I broke something. I don't know how to fix it." Grandfather settled his massive bulk beside them. "Tell me what happened." Lucy explained through tears. The loneliness, the pressure, the moment of weakness when she'd wish things were different. I love him. I do. I just wanted things to be easier. And now they're harder, grandfather said quietly. Because he thinks you don't want him? That's not true, isn't it? You wished you'd never found the egg. What is that but wishing he didn't exist? Lucy buried her face in her hands. I made a mistake. How do I fix it? Grandfather was silent for a long moment. Then he began to speak, his voice heavy with old grief. I told you I had a bonded once. What I didn't tell you was how they died. Pirates attacked while I was away. I could have saved them. I was close enough. But I was angry that day. Angry at my bonded for wanting to stay in one place when I wanted to explore. Angry at the life we'd built instead of the adventures I'd imagined. That's not the same, Lucy protested. Isn't it? I wanted something different. And because I hesitated, because I let my resentment slow me down, I lost everything. But that wasn't your fault. Then why have I blamed myself for 600 years? Grandfather lowered his head until his eyes were level with Lucy's. Bonds are hard, little one. They require sacrifice. They demand everything. And sometimes, in weak moments, we resent them. That's normal. That's being alive. Then how do I make him understand? You can't tell him. You have to show him. Not with words. With actions. Lucy looked at Ash's still form and had an idea. She ran back to the colony, found her mother, and asked for seeds. Real seeds this time, not mysterious eggs. Tomatoes and carrots and flowers, whatever could grow in New Haven's harsh soil. She carried them back to Ash's shelter and began to dig. Not in her old garden spot, but here where Ash could see, where he could watch and understand. She planted seeds in careful rows. She watered them. She whispered to them the way she'd once whispered to him. This is what I do, she said, knowing Ash could hear her even if he pretended he couldn't. I find things that need care, and I care for them. Not because I expect anything back. Not because I want to be special. But because it's right. She planted more seeds. You needed care. You were alone in that egg for who knows how long. So I watered you. I talked to you. I loved you before I even knew what you were. The sun moved across the sky. Lucy's hands were filthy, her knees aching. But she kept planting. I'm sorry I had a bad day. I'm sorry I said something stupid. But I don't regret finding you. I don't regret the bond. I just wish the rest of the galaxy would leave us alone sometimes. She planted the last seed and sat back exhausted. That's what I meant. Not that I don't want you, but that I want things to be easier for both of us. Behind her, she heard movement, felt warmth against her back. Ash had uncurled, had come to her. He pressed his large head against her shoulder and made a sound like wind through leaves. Sad but forgiving, Lucy turned and wrapped her arms around his neck. I love you. Always. Even when things are hard. Ash's rumble became a purr. Through the bond, Lucy felt his love pouring back, unconditional and eternal. He understood now. She wasn't rejecting him. She was just tired, just overwhelmed, just being human. We'll figure out together, she promised. That's what bonds are for, right? That night, Ash ate for the first time in 3 days. And Lucy slept better than she had in months, curled against his warm side while her new garden waited to sprout. But their peace didn't last long. A message came from the Concordance. An egg had been found on a war-torn world called Broken Sky. The warlord controlling the territory planned to force it open, to create a weapon dragon bonded to violence and pain. The Concordance was asking for help. Specifically, they were asking for Lucy. No, her father said immediately. Absolutely not. She's 8 years old. She's the only person alive who's successfully bonded with a dragon. The Concordance ambassador replied via transmission. The only one who might be able to help that egg hatch safely. Send someone else. Send troops. We've tried. The warlord has that entire system locked down. But he might allow one child and her dragon. A diplomatic visit. A show of good faith. Lucy looked at her parents, then at Ash. Through the bond, she felt his readiness. He would follow her anywhere, do anything she asked. The question was, could she ask him to do this? What happens to the egg if we don't help? She asked. The ambassador hesitated. Best case, it never hatches. Worst case, it hatches broken, creates a monster that kills everything around it before dying itself. Lucy thought about Ash, about the 6 months she'd spent watering him, talking to him, loving him before he woke. She thought about another egg, surrounded by weapons and violence, waiting for someone to show it kindness. "I'll go," she said. "Lucy, no," her mother pleaded. "Mom, I have to. You told me once that we carry earth in our hearts, that we make gardens wherever we go. Well, this is my garden now." She gestured to Ash, to the dragon egg's grandfather had brought to New Haven. "And I can't let another seed die because I was too scared to help." Her father looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "If you're going, we're coming with you. All of us," her mother added. Grandfather stirred from where he'd been resting. "As am I. The child is brave, but even the brave need guardians." Broken Sky lived up to its name. The planet's atmosphere was choked with smoke from burning cities, and its surface was scarred by decades of war. General Cray controlled the northern continent through fear and overwhelming force, his armies crushing anyone who opposed him. Lucy stood in the landing bay of Cray's fortress, Ash pressed against her side. The dragon was massive now, big enough to carry her on his back, but he still felt small compared to the weapons pointed at them. Grandfather waited in orbit, ready to strike if things went wrong. But Lucy had promised to try diplomacy first. Cray himself came to meet them. He was tall for a human, covered in scars, with eyes that looked dead inside. Lucy had seen eyes like that before on broken equipment that still somehow functioned, running but not alive. "So you're the famous dragon child," Cray said, circling them slowly. "Smaller than I expected." "I'm here about the egg," Lucy said, forcing her voice to stay steady. "Direct. I like that." Cray gestured for them to follow. "Cool, me. I'll show you my prize." They walked through corridors lined with soldiers. Lucy felt Ash's tension through the bond, his readiness to fight if needed. But she kept her hand on his neck, silently asking him to wait, to trust her. The egg sat in what looked like a torture chamber. Machines surrounded it, designed to crack it open through force. The egg itself was darker than Ash's had been, with veins of silver running through the stone. It pulsed weakly, irregularly, like a failing heart. Lucy felt sick. "What are you doing to it?" "Accelerating the hatching process." Dragon eggs respond to stimuli. Pain, fear, survival instinct. I've been broadcasting battle sounds, exposing it to violence, teaching it what it needs to know to be useful. "That's not how it works," Lucy said, moving closer to the egg. "You can't force a dragon to bond with you." "Can't I? I've studied the old records. Dragons bond to protect. If I make it think I'm in danger, that I need protection, it will choose me." "No, it won't." Lucy knelt beside the egg, placing her hand on its warm surface. Through Ash's connection, she could feel the egg's terror. It was aware, had been aware for weeks. Every moment of pain and fear had seeped into its dreams. "You've hurt it, made it afraid. When it hatches, it will hate you." Cray's hand moved to his weapon. "Then perhaps I should kill you and take your dragon instead. The bond can be transferred after death, can it?" "No," Lucy said softly. "When one dies, the other follows. That's how bonds work." She felt Ash's alarm through the bond, but kept her focus on the egg. She began to hum, a lullaby her mother used to sing. Soft and gentle, the opposite of everything this egg had known. She felt it respond, felt its terror ease slightly. "What are you doing?" Cray demanded, showing it kindness, showing it that not everything hurts. "Stop. That's not." But Lucy kept humming, kept sending warmth and comfort through her connection to Ash, through Ash to the egg. She told its stories silently about gardens and rain and the feeling of sun on scales. She promised it that life could be gentle, that not every moment was pain. The egg began to crack. Cray raised his weapon. "It's mine. I found it. I control it." "No one controls dragons," Lucy said. "They choose." The egg split apart. What emerged was larger than Ash had been, silver-scaled and fierce. It looked around with wild eyes, saw Cray with his weapon, saw the torture machines, saw everything that had caused it pain. Then it looked at Lucy. She smiled at it, still humming, still sending comfort. "Hello. I'm sorry you were scared, but you're safe now." The silver dragon trembled. It took a step toward Lucy, then stopped, confused. It had been born into violence, taught that life was suffering. But here was something different. Someone offering kindness without wanting anything back. Cray moved to grab it, to force the bond. But one of his soldiers stepped forward first. A young man, barely 20, with frightened eyes. His name was Tim, and he'd been conscripted 3 years ago, forced to fight in Cray's armies. He'd hated every moment. "Please," Tim said to the dragon, his voice breaking. "I don't want to fight anymore. I don't want to hurt people. If you bond with me, I promise I'll only use that strength to protect, to help people escape this place." The silver dragon looked at Tim, looked at Lucy, then it made its choice. It walked to Tim and pressed its head against his chest, the same way Ash had done with Lucy. The bond formed in an instant, and Tim collapsed to his knees, crying. Cray's face went purple with rage. He raised his weapon to shoot them both. But Ash was faster. The dragon lunged, knocking the weapon aside and pinning Cray to the floor. He didn't hurt the general, just held him down while Lucy stood. "It's over," Lucy said. The egg chose. "You can't change that." "This isn't over," Cray spat. "I'll find more eggs. Force them properly." "No," said Grandfather's voice in all their minds. The ancient dragon descended through a hole he'd torn in the ceiling, landing with a crash that shook the fortress. "You will not." What followed was swift. Grandfather had brought Concordance peacekeepers. Cray's fortress fell apart without his leadership. Soldiers like Tim, pressed into service against their will, surrendered gladly. 3 more eggs were found in Cray's vaults, stolen from archaeological sites. Lucy sat with Tim while his dragon, who he named River for reasons he couldn't quite explain, learned to trust him. "It's hard at first," she told him. "The bond. It demands everything, but it gives everything back too." "I can feel him," Tim said, wonder in his voice. "Feel what he feels. He's scared, but he's also curious. And he trusts me. After everything he went through, he trusts me. That's what dragons do. They see the best in us, even when we can't see it ourselves." The journey back to New Haven took a week. Lucy spent the time thinking about what Grandfather had said, about creating sanctuaries, about letting eggs hatch naturally, bond with those who showed care rather than force. When they arrived home, she found that the colony had changed. The small garden she'd planted while making up with Ash had grown. Colonists had added to it, creating a memorial garden around the spot where Lucy had first planted Ash's egg. It was beautiful, full of earth plants that shouldn't have been able to grow in New Haven soil, but somehow did anyway. "Love makes things grow," her mother said, standing beside her, even in impossible places. Over the next 2 years, New Haven became what Lucy had envisioned, a sanctuary. Eggs were brought there from across the galaxy, placed in gardens in quiet places. Children from various species were invited to visit, to play near the eggs, to care for them without expectation. Some eggs hatched. Others waited. But each one that woke chose carefully, bonding with beings who showed compassion, patience, care. A Quinn scientist who sang to an egg for 6 months. A Lumen who shared warmth with an egg through the cold season. A former Scar soldier who defected, who watered an egg daily and told it stories of peace. The galaxy changed slowly. Wars still happened, but now there were dragons to protect the innocent. Bonded pairs who used their strength not to conquer, but to defend. It wasn't perfect. Some bonds failed. Some dragons were hurt or killed. But the hope that had died with the dragon genocide was being reborn, one egg at a time. Lucy stood in her original garden on her 10th birthday. Ash curled around her like a living wall. He was enormous now, but still gentle with her. Still her best friend. Still her bond that a young Quinn child approached, holding a small stone. "Is this a seed?" Lucy smiled. She recognized that stone, saw the faint patterns beneath its surface, felt the warmth of life waiting inside. "It might be. Why don't you plant it and find out?" The Quinn child carefully dug a hole and placed the stone inside. Then it looked up at Lucy. "What do I do now?" "Talk to it. Water it. Take care of it. And if it's meant to wake up, it will. When it's ready. When it knows you're ready." The child nodded solemnly and began to whisper to the buried stone. Lucy felt Ash's contentment through the bond. This was right. This was what they were meant to do. Not fight, though they would if they had to. Not conquer or control, but nurture, protect, help things grow in impossible places. Her parents watched from the house. Her father had tears in his eyes. "She's so grown up," he said. "She's still our little girl," her mother replied. "Just one who happens to be changing the galaxy." Grandfather landed nearby, making the ground shake. He'd been traveling, searching for more eggs, bringing them to safety. He'd found 12 in the last year alone. Proof that dragons weren't as extinct as everyone thought. Just sleeping, waiting. "The Concordance wants to make this official," he told Lucy. "Declare New Haven a protected sanctuary. They'll send guards, resources, make it a destination for anyone seeking to understand dragons." "What do you think?" Lucy asked. "I think you've already made a sanctuary. The official recognition just makes it easier to protect." That night, Lucy couldn't sleep. She left her room and found Ash waiting outside, patient as always. She climbed onto his back and he launched into the sky. They flew over the colony, over the gardens, over the dozens of eggs carefully tended by beings from across the galaxy. The stars were bright above them. Somewhere out, there were more eggs. More chances for bonds. More opportunities for species to learn what one human child had known instinctively, that everything grows better with love. Lucy pressed her face against Ash's scales and felt his joy through the bond. They'd grown up together, changed together, learned together. The scared little dragon and the lonely little girl who'd found each other in a garden. "Thank you," she whispered to him. Ash rumbled, a sound like thunder mixed with purring. Through the bond, she felt his response. Not words, but a feeling, a certainty. "Thank you for watering me." They flew until dawn, watching their garden grow beneath the alien stars, knowing that they'd started something that would outlast them both. A legacy of care in a galaxy that had forgotten how to be gentle. And in the gardens below, stones that weren't stones waited patiently for small hands to find them, to water them, to whisper to them in the dark. Waited for the moment when love would wake them from their long sleep and show them that the universe could still be kind.